Alright, so some big news coming out of the Seattle Surge. Obviously Octane being resigned there. After Octane being resigned and everybody being dropped, they have finally released a roster that they will be playing with the next season with. A lot of shockers. So we got Gunless, Octane, Prestinni, and Loony. So Gunless being considered one of the best players in the world, or the best player in the world in IW. And in World War II, I don't know if he was considered the best player in the world in World War II, even though I watched the end tail of that season. I didn't really remember. Gunless always been considered a great player, and obviously Black Ops 4 considered the best player in the beginning of the season, and then at the end of the season he wasn't really considered since he was playing poorly for a different team, obviously due to issues with his personality and having issues with other teammates. And then comes Modern Warfare, and obviously the same thing, considered one of the best players in the world in the beginning of the season, and again the issues came up again. So then we got Prestinni, who is obviously a very great dirty worker. Like, imagine Karma when Optic was around, he was a dirty worker. He's sure he was a superstar, but he only did dirty work. He didn't really pop off too much unless he had to pop off. So Prestinni is like that for the Huntsman. It was like that for the Huntsman. Obviously the Huntsman had a bunch of superstars that had Gunless, but once Gunless was taken out and Prestinni was taken in, Prestinni obviously improved the team due to him doing the hard rotations, doing the constant right play, constantly doing the stuff a lot of players didn't want to do, like hold spawns, rotate, take the hard gunfight that they had to, or win spawns. And that made the Chicago Huntsmen a lot better due to them having a lot of slayers, needing somebody who was a dirty worker besides Envoy. Envoy, sure, he was one of the best at rotating and doing smart play, but he couldn't do that all the time at that high level and having to cover for 4 players. So Gunless got taken out. Personality clashes sure contributed, but once Prestinni came in, he was that type of player that Envoy was. Envoy kind of became even better at slaying and took the load off of Envoy to rotate and all that, and Prestinni took that load on, since that was Prestinni's role all throughout the 5v5 seasons and even the 4v4 seasons. Then we have Loony. Loony being one of the best leaders in Call of Duty by far, always being able to bring out the best in players, bringing out what they excel at, and putting them in positions to excel for their skills they do have. So Loony just fits perfectly on this team. He can make Octane, Gunless, and Prestinni work somehow by putting them to positions they like, and also making them play the roles they like, and somehow making it work together. And also he's played with Gunless back in the the World War II season, where they dominated and won most of the championships during that season. And obviously they had a couple roster moves, they didn't win champs, which is why they broke apart, but still they did dominate most of that season. So if Loony is on his team, he'll make it work with Gunless. He'll make Gunless obviously respects them, so he'll somehow make Gunless not be as attitude negative, I guess, to put it, since he's always had an issue with other teams and has this reputation of having a really bad attitude towards other teams, and not other teams, to his teammates whenever they're teaming. So Loony, during that season, World War II, he didn't really have that problem, since he was able to translate what Gunless was trying to say to his other teammates, and being able to control Gunless, not because he made Gunless play a certain way, or not because Loony expected him to do something. It's because they respected each other, and Gunless respected his voice on the team, and obviously that led them to more championships and led the team to more cohesion and led them to being more successful. So then we have Octane. Obviously everybody knows about Octane. Octane being one of the best ARs in the world, sometimes being considered the best AR in the world in Black Ops 4, obviously. Sure, Formal has always been there, and sometimes Formal has been better than Octane, but Octane, you have to pick that guy up. You can't let that guy go. He is a superstar. He is considered one of the best players in the world. So you have to pick him up, and you can't let him go, because if you let him go, he'll be the one terrorizing you instead. So this team, A lot of people were saying they had the feeling that the team's gonna be middle of the pack. They're not gonna be doing that well. Sure, they could be top. They could be considered for contenders, but the problem is that this team has Gunless in it, and they'll probably implode midway through the season. Sorry, I kept hitting my table, but this team with Gunless is a big risk factor due to Gunless in the past starting off great with his team. Sure, they get along in the beginning, and then midway through the season, something happens where Gunless isn't really getting along with the team, or they're not really doing the right thing, or they just start bickering at each other, and due to that happening, Gunless gets off the team and has to pick somebody up. And due to Gunless having really bad issues with teammates, they're not going to really have available trades for Gunless to be traded with somebody. They're not going to be able to trade Gunless for the superstar due to, obviously, superstars having really high contracts, and also Gunless not really being wanted by other teams. So, what does this have to do with Seattle? Well, if this happens in the beginning of the year and start off smoothly, obviously that's how we're going to start. This team could be a middle of the pack team or a top team. Sure, they can contend with the top teams. It's just that eventually, if things go south, Gunless is going to have to either be dropped and you're going to have to sign another player or bring in a substitute, but you're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to trade him due to Gunless having a really bad reputation. Sure, the lower two teams are going to want him due to his talent. Sure, you might find somebody to trade him with, but you're not going to get another superstar. You're not going to get somebody that fits with the team like how Gunless does. Sure, Huntsman signed Prestinni, but it's because Prestinni and Huntsman are a top team. Huntsman are also a great brand. They are the prehistoric Optic just changed into a different name. Seattle Surge don't have that. They're a small market team. They can't really trade them. So this is gonna be a rough one. But to the roles, I'm sorry, it's already 7 minutes. Gunless, flexible player, can play SMG, sometimes can play an AR, Octane AR player, Prestinni, SMG. This team could be flexible. They could do the Hornet Thieves strat where they can do double AR, and Prestinni with the SMG and Loony with SMG having double AR strat sometimes in control. I believe this team's gonna have a really strong respawn team, a really decent control team, but a really rough S&D team. Only Loony is a really great S&D team player. So that's what I believe this team's going to be about. I just really want to wrap this up due to it being a longer video than I expected. So that's all I have to talk about. This team can be really flexible. It's just that they have to work together and control Gunless's problems with the teammates and his attitude from other teams. He's had issues with attitude midway through the season. Hopefully this doesn't happen, because if this doesn't happen, this team could compete. But if it does, they're going to be a middle of the pack team, and it's going to be rough for them to get out. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.